We'll call the Jordan Public School Board regular meeting to order. It is Monday, November 8th, and it is 6:31 p.m. And we will start with the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. First off, I want to welcome our student board rep. We're very happy to have Kaylin Fryery with us tonight. So welcome aboard. And Kaylin, I'd like to give you an opportunity to make sure you push the button so it's green. If you want to introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Kaylin. I'm a junior at the high school. I enjoy collective bees at the high school. I really enjoy playing tennis. I like the castle. I participate in activities called music outfit. I really enjoy all those things. I'm really excited to be here with everyone tonight.
Okay, good. Well, welcome. Did all of you get a chance to introduce yourself to Kaylin? Okay, good. Well, we're here for you, and we look forward to getting the student perspective on what's going on in our schools, and we'll be reaching out to you and asking you questions about things that we feel are important to get input from you on, and we look forward to just sharing this journey with you. So thank you for being here with us, Kaylin. Okay, consideration, roll call. Here.
Here.
Here. Here. Here.
Here.
Thank you. Consideration of agenda. I'm not real sure when things were pulled, but I know we had to pull the vote on voting on Sandy's position because Lauren's not here, so I believe that was pulled probably this afternoon from the agenda. I don't think there's any other changes to the agenda, so I will entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll move to approve the agenda.
Ryan, is there a second?
A second.
Molly seconds. Any discussion or questions? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Next is the public comments session, and I don't believe anybody indicated that they wish to give public comment tonight. So I do want to welcome our guests that are with us, so thank you for being here tonight. We appreciate that. Consent agenda, we have the minutes, the monthly finance reports from October. The donations that we have for approval are the Food for Friends donation from Gary Shettle, $100, Food for Friends Hometown Bank, $500, and from Larry and Mary Kozlerich Middle School and Elementary School clothes and other miscellaneous items in the amount of $500. We have the resignation of paraprofessional Erica Negren, resignation of the district office assistant, Mars coordinator Hope, and Hope, you are going to be missed greatly. Thank you for all you've done for us all these years. We have the new hire, special ed paraprofessional Hunter Van Soest, new hire paraprofessional Alec Holbeck, and new hire technical assistant Tyler Nelson, who is with us tonight. So those are the consent agenda items. So I will entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Sandy moves. Is there a second?
Second.
Connie, discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. 7.1, review and act on the 2022 Spanish field trip update. And I would invite, I believe, Ms. Peters and Mr. Bergner to the microphone.
Just give me a moment to expand this on my screen so that I can see it. It's too small for my eyes. Oh, thank you. That's even better. All right. Since this seems to be our new thing is coming up to share about our new trips, COVID has just thrown everything into such a loop for us here. So I just want to share a little bit about the Peru trip. Amy will be here to answer questions also. But just the background, we approved this trip in 2019. We're now in 2021, looking to go in 2022, and still hoping to make this trip. It was agreed that Peru would be a great opportunity for our students but obviously we pushed this back a couple times now to get out. A letter was sent to families kind of sharing everything in June, and that letter kind of explained what was happening and what we could expect. Ms. Peters has been continually reaching out with our travel company to figure out what the best avenues are, also checking up on government websites to make sure that we have the proper details in place for our students to travel. So, just a couple of highlights here. Travelers need a proof of a completed vaccine series or proof of a negative test to enter Peru. That has to be done 3 days in advance, and the same would be on the way back. To enter the U.S., if a participant tests positive for COVID, they would need to receive a sanitary or health order from a certified medical professional to return back to the U.S. At this time, quarantines range anywhere from 7 to 10 days. I believe that also is dependent on vaccine status too. Obviously one of the challenges of this is if a participant did test positive, we would have to have somebody stay back with them also, unless it was an adult. I guess if it was an adult, they would stay back on their own. And that's probably the biggest challenge, is putting it right out there. And so we just continue to check in and check what's happening through Peru. Amy did the legwork on looking at Spain, France, other places, and actually, I think it was Spain and France were both actually more tight than what Peru was. So, we kind of came up with 3 options. Option number 1, continue to plan and prepare for the board-approved trip to Peru. Number 2, plan to go to Spain or Costa Rica, not knowing if COVID requirements will shift at any time prior to departure. All other countries have similar travel restrictions guidelines. Some are even more restrictive. I know that new things came out today from our government on travel restrictions into the country. Other option is cancel trip or postpone to spring break of 2023. Right now, we've already have a board-approved trip for the summer of 2023. So that's another option or something to look at to talk about. So again, with this one, similar to the band trip, our recommendation is to continue to plan moving forward. With the trip to Peru, reasons are it's not required. Again, it's not a required curriculum event for students because it's in the summer. There are really no other options that have fewer restrictions. So again, we're kind of giving you the worst case scenario right from the start. So parents can make decisions and students can make decisions based on the current information that we have, which, knock on wood, shouldn't be any worse than what we have right now. And so we also know that students have the options to get vaccinated or to take the tests ahead of time, and we really strongly recommend the insurance. So I guess at this point, having read that, having heard from me a little bit, what questions do you have for Amy or myself on this Peru trip?
Okay, so this is a little bit of a tough one. One of the concerns that I do have is the level of medical professionalism in Peru should one of our students or the chaperones get sick. That, for me, as a board, is concerning. I'm just going to leave it there. I'll leave it with that. That is a concern that I would have. I'll open it up to other board members. Connie?
Does the travel company help, do these tests before they come back? Is that all set up with medical people that are approved by our group, or?
So Interact Travel is the company that we travel with. They will be arranging for the testing for us. So they would be with us to administer that. They will also, I'm not sure if anyone's going to go there yet, but should any student have to seek professional medical care, they will coordinate that as well. They will have a tour guide with us the whole time should any of that happen. They've had some tour groups that traveled last year to Costa Rica and to Mexico. So they are experienced with having these circumstances happen already.
Will the person that's staying back be predetermined before you leave? Other than if it was the parent of a child, then I would, or the parent himself. Otherwise, is a person, because you can't ask for volunteers for staying 10 more days with somebody else's sick child. I I have concerns.
Yep, so we have got a couple of options with that. I can speak with the chaperones that have signed up to go on the trip, and we can determine if somebody is willing to stay the extra time with the understanding that the student who has to stay is covering those expenses. It's not on the chaperones. It's not up to them to have to pay for that. It would be the student who incurs the expenses. The other option would be that if a student were to become sick, that their parent could come down and stay with them too.
So then that, you would expect that child to pay for the chaperone's hotel rooms and their own hotel room while they're there for the 10 days to quarantine?
That's how Interact has it set up right now, that if one student has to stay, that they would expect the student to cover all the expenses. We can come up with our own policy on that.
So that could be a lot of money. Plus their parent having to fly there to get them.
Sandy?
No, that was my question.
Oh, okay.
Connie asked my question.
Okay.
Just to go off of that as well, will there be?
Sarah? Go ahead.
Will there be, a housing or a hotel or something already set up through the travel company that would be established if there's someone who did have to stay and be quarantined, is that already taken care of, so you're not scrambling to try to find a place for
Yeah,
that
so
duration?
most likely with the current situation, we would not be staying with families like we did in the past,
Yep.
like your son
Yeah,
got
yep,
to
that's
do.
what I was-
Just,
yeah.
I mean, they are now, right now, they've opened up some of those family stays with the understanding that any family who hosts has to be vaccinated. They're not allowed to host otherwise. We have final say as to whether we want to stay with families or not. They have hotels lined up for every step of the way, should we need them.
What are other districts doing with international travel?
I reached out to the other Wright County Conference principals today, and Glencoe approved theirs, but their company backed out. I don't know what the story was behind that, but just, and then Delano, Watertown, Rockford are still going in the summer. Annandale is going to Costa Rica in the spring and is still planning to go. New London Spicer is going as planned also. Delano is actually going to China, is where they're going for theirs. And not going, Litchfield is not going, and it's for the exact questions that you guys are currently having. And it has to deal with the in-country quarantines and how that would be at the end of the trip, how would that be handled. So that's what I found out from our Wright County people that replied to me.
Okay. And then, as far as the encouraging families to take out the extra insurance, I know when we were planning our trip to Africa, we were told that the special insurance that we were taking out covered everything except COVID. So that would be a concern or something that we definitely would have to know.
Yeah, so there's coverage and cancellation for any reason policies right now, and because we withdrew from the trip 9 months ago, whenever we withdrew, all of our paperwork was withdrawn, and nobody is currently under contract with Interact Travel. So moving forward, if we are going to travel, we will submit new paperwork and a new check, so everybody will have the same opportunity to purchase cancel for any reason policies, and those do cover some of the COVID reasons
Are there policies out there
that cover if you have to cancel for COVID. It's cancel for any reason, which means if you get sick, you can cancel because it's cancel for any reason. Typically, you get back 75% of the money you've spent, which is a lot better than 0% of the money. The other thing I was told was that each student and parent should check with their health insurance to see how that health insurance covers. In Peru, many of them will cover, but students and families could also buy a supplementary health insurance policy too if they wanted to.
Ryan?
So when does a family have to sign up? Do we have a feel for when the deadline would be?
Yeah, I have my whole list of families that have been on board. We're meeting tomorrow night, pending the results of this meeting. If we're going to go, we will meet and talk about paperwork. We'll talk about deadlines for getting that travel insurance purchased. Should we decide that traveling right now is not a good idea, we will also meet and talk about what it might look like if we go during spring break of next year. And I'm just taking those families that have already signed up. I think we have between 28 and 30 students currently on the list, and the max we can bring for students is 36.
And have you had any preliminary conversations with parents? I mean, is there any feel for,
I've spoken with a couple of families, and they're ready to sign paperwork. One of the families gave me passport copies just Friday of last week. So I can't tell you what all
Sure.
28 are going to do. We could ask Molly what she's
but they have to
thinking.
re-sign up, right? I mean,
Malika's going to Peru. Peru. Yeah, I mean, they literally are just filling out the same form they filled out before, but it says for travel in 2022.
Sure.
So it's a brand new form, same information. I have all their deposits still. We kept those within the Spanish Club account. Should they decide they don't want to travel, anything that they've deposited will get refunded. They could look at traveling for the 2023 Spain trip, assuming that one goes on as planned as well.
So how many of the students are seniors? Well, how many missed last year the opportunity because they were seniors and so like
That are going this year.
Are any of them?
Abby Gable is a student who's currently a freshman in college, and she's coming back to go on the trip. The other seniors canceled.
Okay.
Current seniors on my roster, I believe there are maybe 3. And I believe if we should have to postpone, Interact would offer them the same opportunity to travel if we have to postpone.
Okay. Sarah?
Will it be, so you meet tomorrow night, will it be understood for the families that if they do have to stay quarantined, that it would be their expense, so knowing ahead of time that they're signing up for that experience?
Yep, everything that's in
Yep.
the information we gave you was copied to parents as well,
Okay.
and we will certainly have that conversation tomorrow and strongly suggest, if you believe in getting vaccinated, it'd be a good time to do it. If you don't, that's your choice, obviously. And a super strong recommendation to get the insurance.
Are you able to get a dollar amount that, okay, yeah, you're gonna have to pay for the hotel? I'd be going, I don't know how much a hotel room in Peru costs. Are you able to give them a dollar amount of how much it would cost for a chaperone and a student to stay back so they know what they would be incurring as a payment?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I can email my contacts at Interact and ask them. They're really quick on responding. And I should be able to have a tentative number by tomorrow.
And then a parent airplane ticket, how much it would cost for a parent to fly there to pick up their child. Just, I think if we give them a lot of information,
Yeah.
I mean, you just need a credit card, but still that could add up really quick.
Right, and I'm not saying a parent would have to fly down there, but should the circumstance arrive, they may want to.
Well, depending, and even medical-wise, how far is a hospital away from where they're at? And there's a lot of what-ifs. Yeah.
I think along those lines, I would guess that just in knowing Amy and knowing how she plans, that we'll have that designated person, and there'll be somebody that's like, you know what, I've got that in my schedule. I can work from a hotel room in Peru just as well as here, and I'm willing to be that person that stays for the extra 10 days if called upon to do that. I'm guessing that we would have that plan. I'm not guessing. I know that we'll have that plan before we go, so that we would have somebody set up for that. And then when it comes to the hospitalization and those kinds of things, I know that every time we come up for this meeting, that's always a concern, because anytime we leave country and leave our comfort of what we know here in the United States, it's always a little bit scary. So I know that Interact does this with a lot of students, and like Amy said, has done that over the past even 6 to 8 months. So
I had a question, I forgot it now. I had a couple questions. Drop dead date that we could pull out if things really go awry.
Well, we'd be signing up in the next week or so. I believe, I don't have the exact dates in my head, but there would be a certain amount of time in which we could get all but our initial deposit back. But we're kind of pushing it to the limit here because it's November, December, January. We're leaving in 6 months. So we're getting close to the edge of that, which is why we kept bumping back the decision date.
And then if we pull somebody, an adult, if it's a student that gets sick, are we going to be shorting the coverage of caring for the other students on their way back? Or
I don't think so.
If it happens early in the trip, it could be the whole rest of the trip that we're short a chaperone.
Right, I could certainly pull an extra chaperone to go with. I had some other parents who would be interested in going. I haven't asked anybody else, just waiting to see what our final numbers are. Interact requires 1 chaperone for every 6 students. We currently have 4 chaperones signed up for 28, so we're a little short. But like I said, I was waiting to see the final commitment numbers and then reach out to the parents of the students who are left and see who would like to go. We have people who've applied and asked to go, Molly, who may want to re-up their application to go with us.
So this is more a question for Superintendent Evenson, liability-wise. What are your concerns as a district?
Sure. I think anytime that there's international travel, I think there's obviously the risk that districts incur. However, it's very common to have international travel at the school district level. So I don't think I would say it's a concern, but it's always a consideration. With COVID and, with potential illnesses, some of the things that the board has talked about this evening were the things that I spoke with Principal Visner with, and I'm sure he spoke with Ms. Peters about as well. Just making sure we're really tight on what our plan would be if we did have a student that had an illness, a student that, tested positive and didn't have any symptoms. It's the same deal. So we just need to make sure that we have a really solid plan. I do feel somewhat more comfortable knowing what area districts are doing with that. That was a good data point for me to hear, just finding out what our Wright County partners have been doing in relation to international travel. So I wouldn't say concern, just considerations.
Other questions from the board?
So I was kind of looking up the travel insurance, kind of what your questions were. And it does say if you get the travel insurance, it normally covers your stay up to 7 days past your original return. So you don't have to pay for more lodging
So that would cover the
at
students.
that time. So that covers the students' lodging and meals and accommodations during that time. So
Thank you.
With no COVID caveats?
it says if your travel insurance includes coverage for COVID, you can stay at your destination. This is Peru for 7 days past your original return date. And it covers your meals and accommodations
I would
during
definitely
quarantine.
highlight that in your presentation.
Yes.
In terms of strongly encouraging insurance, because that could be a huge expense
Yeah.
otherwise.
Yeah.
I would encourage it in
Yeah.
any way, shape, or
Right,
form, because
right.
if a student tests positive 3 days before we're supposed to go and they're asymptomatic, I mean, that's crushing.
Mm-hmm.
Which brings up another point. What if there's a big outbreak?
So if there's a big outbreak here or there,
With the population, our group?
then we would have a large amount of people who are getting their money back, and we would have more chaperones than we need, assuming it's not the chaperones.
No, I mean when you're
When
there.
we're there,
Yeah.
then we are buddied up in those hotel rooms, and hopefully there's somebody who's not ill. Otherwise, I am positive, knowing Interact, our land guide will be there. They will be there every step of the way. They've never once left us hanging. Even when we were not able to get into a hotel room, they offered up their own credit card to pay. Like, they are phenomenal.
It's good to know. So we have 3 options is the way I took it, and if we, really, we've already acted on this, so if we don't have to take action if we're just status quo with moving forward, because we've already acted on it, but if you want to change the motion that we did at the board meeting a couple months ago, then this would be the appropriate time to do that. Otherwise, it's not really an action item.
Could
You
I
want it to be?
Could I offer that you're correct?
Mhm.
However, with the previous conversation with New Orleans, I believe the board chose to make it an action item to reaffirm that decision.
Okay.
If you wanted to do it consistently, your
Okay.
choice.
Good point.
Jen?
Sandy?
I would just say, my personal opinion is we only really have 2 options. Because going to Spain or Costa Rica
Mm-hmm.
is not really an option, right? Because there's even tighter restrictions. So to me, it's either we continue to plan and prepare or we cancel the trip or postpone it.
Mhm.
So that's just my personal opinion.
I agree with you.
And we do, excuse me, and we do, if it is January or February and we see, much like the New Orleans, I mean, if something suddenly breaks out, we still, by having that insurance and, it's going to be disappointing, but we know that we still have that. But people have made their decision based on, knowing
The
all
facts
the
that we
facts.
have.
Yeah.
That's fine. Okay, so the wishes of the board. Looking for a motion one way or another.
I will make the motion to proceed with the planning and execution of the trip to Peru.
I
Okay,
will second
we have a
that.
motion by Ryan, a second by Sarah. Okay, any further concerns or questions or thoughts?
I guess the difference that I see, and I'm not saying that I don't support it, because I think ultimately I do. But I think the difference between this and the band trip, obviously, is you're going to a different country. As you pointed out, Deb, the hospital care is a huge concern. And so, I mean, I think that there's a good plan in place. I do trust Ms. Peters in terms of her ability to plan. And I do support it, but I do have that concern. So.
Am I able to interject? I will
Yes.
certainly reach out to Interact and ask them what they have in place for hospitalization as well and get that information from them too, if that helps allay any fears for anybody.
But I do feel like you're having those issues anytime you go international. Like, what if somebody falls and breaks their leg or some, like, anytime you're going international, you still have those concerns, so.
Even if you're not in Minnesota. I mean,
Correct.
let's be honest, our healthcare is phenomenal.
Right.
But it's easier for a parent to get somewhere in the United States as opposed to a different country.
Okay, further discussion? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor of the motions signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. I believe Ms. Peters is up again. Review and act on the addition of speech for sixth graders. And Mr. Perkel.
Hello. Over the last year or two, we've had discussion at the board level about increasing participation, especially when it comes to sixth grade, when there's not a youth association in an activity. Speech would fall in line with there really not being any sort of option outside of maybe academics to join a speech type of team. So that's what we're here to present today, is to add sixth grade participation to the speech team. Coach Peters, and maybe if everyone's here and they vote Coach Burke back in, we'll see, but the coaches would love to get those sixth graders going earlier. They cannot participate in MSHSL section competitions, but can in non-sanctioned middle school and even high school meets. This would be a great opportunity, again, going back, our coaches to really figure out what speech is at an earlier age. A lot of times, and maybe I'm speaking out of turn here, 7th, 8th graders, they're real green when they come in, and it's just, we're learning fundamentals before we're actually getting into competitions. So this would really allow those 6th graders to have a leg up as they come in and start competing. Anything else to add with the rationale there? Okay. In doing so, by adding this, 6th grade would have a little less opportunity than those high school and even at the 7th and 8th grade level. However, we have board-approved fees already in place, so we would expect this year they would have to pay that 7 through 12, which is a across-the-whole-board speech fee. And then what I would do is next year present a different model for how we structure our fees for those kids.
Have you surveyed the kids at all? Is there an interest?
Informally, I've spoken with some students who would be very excited. Will they join in the end? I'm not sure. The plan would be to have them compete in the 4 junior high meets, which would be 6th grade through 9th grade, so they'd be with their peers. We would also invite them to our home high school meet so they could see what a big meet's like. And then they would have a short season, be done, and have that opportunity to start to learn what speech is.
So we've done this for a variety of sports and activities to this point, right? And isn't it pretty similar? I mean, like if you're in golf or you're in another activity, you're not able to compete at a certain level cross country, right?
Right. Yep. So same thing we did cross country recently. Those 6th graders were able to participate all year long in the middle school and junior high meets that we were a part of in the invites, but could not participate any higher. One thing I guess to consider in all this too is our activities, our participants to coach ratio. Last year we had lower speech numbers, so we had one less coach. We actually had the same amount of coaches, but they split a stipend. We would consider these students as part of the team and would be built into that participant to coach ratio.
Any other questions, Sandy?
I guess I'm a little confused as to why we can't change the fee. I understand that we have a board. I'm 100% in favor of this. And by the way, I will be abstaining. Because of personal interest in it. But I guess I'm not sure why, because I know when we did cross-country and track, I feel like that was a lower fee. And so I guess I'm confused as to why we can't do the same for speech.
Go ahead.
Well, speech is different than all those other activities. We have a middle school fee and we have a high school fee, regardless of which level you compete at. So if we have a 7th grade basketball player on the varsity team, they would pay the middle school fee.
Right.
We don't have, for speech, it's 712 across the board,
Okay.
same fee.
Okay.
The only caveat now by adding 6th grade versus 7th and 8th is they just can't compete at that section level. Maybe I'm speaking out of, I don't know if we have a lot of 7th graders competing in sections.
Yeah. We had what, 2 go to
So
state?
this would be 6th graders just wouldn't have that opportunity.
Right.
But I'm open to discussion. I know in speaking with Superintendent Evenson, we wanted to present it as is and not adjust that fee, so.
And we adjust fees in April of every year, and knowing that it didn't fit the typical structure where we could assign a middle school fee, we just don't have one established
Okay.
for speech. We felt like the most consistent thing moving forward would be to honor our fee schedule with this and make the adjustment in April. So that was the decision that we made. If the board chooses to do something else, that's fine too.
I just worry that that's going to be an awfully high fee for parents to pay that for 5 meets, are we talking? I mean, that's just, because we do typically 10 to 12 a year, and so it just, I don't know. I guess I would urge us to consider lowering it if we possibly can.
So if somebody wants to make a motion, they could include something in, yeah.
So is there like a relatively consistent middle school participation fee?
So what I would probably propose to you guys in April would be similar to what we do with athletics and some of our other fine arts, is a middle school fee of $125 and a high school fee of $175. Currently, speech is $160 across the board. So from a budgetary standpoint, I think you're going to be pretty close when you drop middle school a little bit and raise high school at $15.
So is there reason to not have a reduced fee for some of the 7th and 8th graders given their competitiveness at a varsity level?
So typically, 7th and 8th graders are part of the varsity team if they are competing at a varsity level. Some of them will be done at a certain point because we can only take so many kids onto the conference meet and subsections. But they all have every opportunity to be varsity over a junior or a senior, even if they are that good at what they do.
But the 6th graders would
not.
not have that opportunity, so we're talking, I feel we're talking specifically
Exactly.
about the rate for 6th grade. I don't think we should touch 7 through 12 at this meeting.
Yeah,
So I'm hearing 125 would maybe be a more reasonable fee.
I think it would be comparable to what we do with other middle school components. So your motion could include that fee, and that would be accurate.
Okay.
I will make a motion to add 6th grade speech for $125 per season.
Looking for a second. Connie seconds. Okay, further questions or discussion? Okay. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed?
abstain.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Very much. Okay, 7.3 was pulled from the agenda. 7.4, review and act on the EMJ contract 2021-2023. And Superintendent Evenson will give us a recap of the negotiations contract.
Good evening, Chair Pauley, members of the board. I'm really excited to share that we have a tentative agreement with our EMJ group, and they've ratified the contract on their end. Way back last May, we had our welcome meeting with EMJ and district negotiators, and at that time established our norms and procedures, and then we paused until this fall. We were able to have 4 successful negotiation sessions and have reached the agreement as follows. Some of the highlights of the contract, there were some language pieces that were mutually beneficial for both EMJ and the district. In terms of the contract, we're looking at a year 1 2% increase with a one-time payment of $2,000, and year 2 a 1.5% increase, as well as some money put on insurance contributions to members, as well as coaches and directors, and some other activities. I will say it's my first time negotiating with EMJ. I'd like to thank EMJ negotiators. I'd like to thank our board negotiators. We had Ryan and Deb and Lauren. It was really an awesome experience. Good partnership, good collaboration, and I think the most important thing, it was always student-centered the entire time, and I don't know that every district can say that. So I would just present to you that we have the contract and we're looking for approval this evening.
So, Ryan, I'll invite you to share too, just some of your thoughts on.
Yeah, I thought the process went well. I think there was a good realistic effort on both sides to come to an agreement that keeps us in a sustainable place, and works within the budget that we have. So I'm pretty pleased with the result.
Yeah, it really was a good process, and I really feel that it was good for the district, but also that it's a very fair and a good settlement for our staff for EMJ. So with that, are there any questions before we make a motion? Sandy?
I think I need to abstain on this one too. Because of Schedule C.
Oh, yeah, you
Okay.
should.
Okay,
Sorry.
That's okay.
I'll entertain a motion to approve the contract 2021-2023 contract with EMJ.
So moved.
Ryan moves. Is there a second?
I will second.
Sarah seconds. Okay, any other questions or thoughts? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Abstain.
Sandy abstains. Motion carries. Thank you. And I too want to thank the EMJ team. It was very amicable and it was fun. It was really good to get to know the staff better and work with them, and it was very pleasant, so thank you. Okay, 7.5, review and act on the 21-22 American Indian Education Act application. Mr. Williams.
I made it.
Yes. How did wrestling meeting go?
Good.
Good.
Good. Hopefully we'll have good numbers this year. So.
Good. And a good team.
And a good
Yes.
team, of course. So I am here to present the aid application for the American Indian, the APAC, the American Indian Parent Advisory Council. And what was attached to the agenda and to the board was, board book was the budget amount. It's roughly around, I think, $34,600-ish dollars that were approved by the state. Within this aid application, we had 5 areas we had to basically write narratives and goals on, which really did not change much from what we have been doing the last few years. So a lot of it focuses on post-secondary. We are preparing our high school students for the ACT, college visits. The aid application also supports our American Indian coordinator, Sarah Miller. She takes time to meet with students, to provide them with resources and things that they can do in order to help better prepare them for life after high school for the high school students. Sarah's been working really hard on finding cultural relevant activities for our identified American Indian students. So they've done some drumming. They also will be doing other activities that are within the application that you can see. I won't go through it all. The application also covers our after-school tutoring for our students, so our students can get after-school support. It also provides transportation, so we provide transportation for the students back home who need after-school academic support. Also within the application, it also covers our
our other activities like our horse camp that we've done for the last 5 years. It also covers our banquet and any other activities that we feel that are important for our students to be exposed to. I know that we brought back, I think at our elementary this school year, we're doing the Native Pride dancers coming back. We had it at the middle school, so now it's going to be at the elementary school. So that would be really cool for our elementary school students to get to experience that. As people have read it, do you have any questions or anything about the 8 application? It lasts 3 years, 4 years. It was the IEPP. Now it's an 8 application. So after 3 years of getting used to writing the IEPP, they changed it on me. So, why wouldn't they, right?
And this is due when?
Oh, it's already been approved by the state.
Gotcha. Okay.
So I submitted in a couple weeks ago, and the due date's November 30th. So I want to make sure it's presented to the board by the deadline of November 30th.
Questions for Mr. Williams? Okay. Thank you. So I will entertain a motion to approve the SY 21-22 American Indian Education Act app.
So moved.
Sandy moves. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Molly. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chad. Okay, so we have all of the reports attached. If you had any questions about any of the reports, please email the directors and then CC Renee on any questions that you might have. Just in general, does anybody have any comments or anything in overall about anything? I will say I was surprised by the lacrosse numbers. That was pretty impressive. That was good. Okay.
I will say with the nutritional services, my third grader has come back saying how awesome the setup is for lunches right now. But
Cool.
they get really sad when they can't eat the cookies off the Cookie Monster display. But they think it's really cool. They're liking the changes to food service. So
That's great. Good. Sandy?
I just wanted to say I was impressed with the level of participation in the invitational conferences for the high school and
Yes.
for the middle school. That was amazing.
100%.
So whatever you're doing, keep it up.
Yes.
So, nice job.
That's good. Any other comments, general comments? Okay. And yes, I will, in a second. And then I believe that starting in December, and correct me if I'm wrong, Kaylin will be doing a student board rep report for us that will be included, so, okay. So I'll move on to our superintendent's report.
Yep, and I'll just clarify, when we talk to Kaylin, she'll have, what she's going to do is meet with Mr. Visner every month, and then also with Ms. Barnett and Mr. Bakeberg. And she'll have some talking points, just so that as a student rep, she can update you as to what's happening within the buildings. I don't know if we'll have her attach it to that, or if we'll have her just verbally share that. It's kind of going to depend on how busy her schedule is, too. We said we'd be gentle and flexible. So, but for my board report, I have a couple items I thought I'd mention to all of you before I forget, because I forgot to put it in my report. Jordan Dazzle is coming up. So we are going to be working, we partnered with EMJ, and really as a whole district, we'll be working together on that. And so whoever can join that, either in the planning or decorating or walking that night, it's going to be a hoot and a half. So we're really looking forward to that. So just let me know, because I think it's super important, and it'll be a lot of fun to kick off the holidays here in Jordan. The other things I wanted to mention, supporting family communication. We had a great conversation about a month and a half ago. One of our community members had shared that it would be really nice if we had some additional information to share with moms and dads, or people that might even be new to our school district, on who do I contact if I have question X or Y or Z. And so on our website, going live today under the parent section, we have a new information section for moms and dads and community members on who they might reach out to if they have questions. Elise has worked really hard on it, along with the leadership team, to really go through, and it's a nice Q&A format, plus there's just some informational things, and it's really a nice addition to our website. So just wanted to point that out. The last thing that I'll mention, now hiring, is the title of this one. So kind of like many businesses and organizations out there, staffing is something that's always a consideration for us. We're always looking for ways to fill new positions. We're always looking at how we can market our district and, really attract people that want to work in our district. And currently we've got open positions in clerical. We have open positions in paraprofessional positions, buildings and grounds, kids company. We're looking for a school psychologist. And while we really are in a better position than many districts that are short 50 teachers, not even kidding, it's important that we find really good quality candidates. So we've been really beefing up kind of how we advertise, where we advertise. I know, Chris Adamson, when he did my last radio interview, I don't know if he was expecting that I'd be looking for candidates on the radio, but I kind of threw that out there. I thought it's live radio. They're very gracious and kind about it, but it's an important thing I think you need to be aware of as a board. Substitutes are a really essential part of our organization and how that works. And so we're looking at how we can attract and retain substitutes that want to keep coming back. Our teachers have been awesome in the conversation, talking to their, site level teams and principals. The principals have shared with me ideas that they have. One of the good parts of this conversation is everybody's been really solution seeking. And I think that when you come at it from that angle, it makes a big difference because we can all admire the problem, but unless we're looking for what we can do differently, it's not going to really be impactful. So we'll be looking to implement some new incentives just to attract and retain subs. I will say that our staff steps up every single day. We have teachers that are teaching during their prep times and planning times. We have, some staff that have subbed 22 days already this year. And I'm not even kidding, it's been really impactful. Again, we're in a better position than a lot of districts, but this takes its toll. And so as a board, I just wanted to make you aware of a couple of things. One, I'm really proud of our staff. I'm proud when they all step in and step up. I'm proud of our principals who are teaching sometimes as well. We have district staff that are going out and subbing as well when they can. They even let me do 4th grade one day. And I mean let me, because boy, it's been a little bit. But I think it's important for you to know that we're going to be looking at some of those, things that we can maybe do to entice our subs. Maybe when they sub for us, we provide their lunch, some of those little things. Looking at, we've had the question about what about raising sub pay. We've looked at that. And one of the things we found that other area districts have considered, and it's unique, and we've worked with teachers on call, is if you can entice a sub to come a full week, on that last day of the week, you double their pay. Rather than raise from $127 to $150, that's where that extra pay comes from. And so looking at some of those things, because we do need people to come every day. We've talked about, do we just hire just one person to be our sub? We can. I know we've tried that as a district before. My best analogy for that is, it's like when you have a leak in the Hoover Dam and you put a little piece of gum in it to plug it, it doesn't really help. Yes, it covers the one, but you're always going to have 5 more. So it's a tough conversation. It's tough to make that decision to do that piece of it. So we want to take actions and see where, some of these might pay off for us and continue to monitor it. But I think, the takeaway message is we're looking at how we can entice and market better. We're looking at, how we can support our staff. We're trying some new things, and we'll keep you posted. And that's all I have for my report. Do you have any questions?
I just want to thank the whole staff.
Yeah.
That's really picking up a lot. I mean, the whole staff that I know
Yeah.
are picking up a lot of extra loads here. It's
Yeah.
challenging times. Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Okay. On to school board member reports. We'll start with committee reports. City School, I believe, is meeting on the 22nd. Communications hasn't met. Community Ed Rec joint powers.
think that's Lauren.
Lauren, do you want to cover that one?
You did the last.
Oh,
joint powers
yeah,
one.
I'm so sorry, I was putting my papers away.
The community joint powers.
Joint
yeah.
powers, yes, so sorry. So we did joint powers on the last Wednesday of October. And what we did actually was talk about the joint powers agreement. So as a joint powers group, we have been looking at what that agreement looks like, what does it say about what the committee should look like? What does it say about what the fee structures should look like, and that partnership? And what we found, and this started even way last February, what we found was that there were some things that we weren't actually adhering to, and then some things that were put into the joint powers agreement that was kind of a guesstimate because it was written before the CERC even opened. And so as a group, we've been kind of tightening up that language and looking at what it could be and might be. And so our next step then is Stephen Jensen will be coming on the 22nd to the next city school meeting, taking it to that committee for input and feedback on some of the revisions that we've made to the joint powers agreement. And if it makes it past that, then the next step would be to go to our respective council and board for approval to update that. Really good meeting, good partnership.
Any questions? Okay, thank you. Curriculum and technology did not meet since our last meeting. Facilities is meeting next week. We didn't meet and confer. That was prior to our last meeting. We reported on that, I think. Yeah, we did. I think we did.
It was
I'm pretty
Jordan
sure we did.
Dazzle.
No, actually,
Yeah.
now that I
Oh,
think
maybe
about
it-
it, we
maybe
did
it
it
wasn't.
the night before Ed Minnesota
Right.
break.
That's right.
Hmm.
You want to report on that?
Yeah, we talked about Jordan Dazzle and cooperating with the EMJ, which we
Mm-hmm.
are going to do our best to do.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the whole board is invited to participate too, so you can participate in planning, decorating, walking. So come on out and be part of the team. Okay, negotiations, I think we pretty well covered that. Policy committee is coming up the 23rd, I believe.
I will not be able to attend that. I have a dentist appointment, so already scheduled for that time, which has been scheduled for like 6 months.
Okay. I can unless I have some extenuating circumstances.
I'm able to make it as well, so.
Okay.
You can, okay,
Yeah.
good. Sounds good. APAC, any more on that, other than Chad's report?
We just, our last meeting, we talked about this already. We went to I'm not gonna remember the name.
Tokokata Tea, I
Okay,
think.
Yes, yeah, we
Yeah.
talked about that, I think, at the last meeting, and
Mhm.
that was our meeting. We didn't do any business at all. So we have another one coming up, is it this week or next?
I don't, I think it
I
might be
will-
this week, Thursday.
I believe I can see it.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Booster Club, Sarah?
Met last week, had their annual planning, so looked at membership packages, communications, marketing, fundraising, school, spirit store, all of that, and getting a lot of ideas were kind of thrown out there and discussed. Fundraising, I know that'll all be documented and continued discussions, but it was their big annual planning session. And also looking at next year with Tina rolling off mid-year, kind of looking at her session, who's gonna help, with some of the things that she's been doing for the last several years. So a lot of discussion around that. So, yeah, it was a fun one.
Good, thank you. The Ed Foundation, Molly or Connie or?
We are in the process of researching and hiring a new financial advisor. They have interviews with 2 people right now that come highly recommended, so that should be happening really soon. The big thing they're doing is fundraising. They're getting prices on, they would be selling senior signs. You are a senior graduating class of 2022, and in the negotiations, if it's a 2-sided sign or a 1-sided sign, and so they're working on that, but they should be coming up shortly with prices on that. Grant time is coming up. They'll be taking grants applications soon. They have, if you watch their website is awesome, and they hit Facebook, and they've got tons of new things out there. They also are in the Jordan Dazzle, so we're working on getting that put together. Their new business is working really hard at getting payroll deductions for staff so they could contribute to it. And they also are planning on putting some kind of a PowerPoint presentation together so that they could present that at the spring open houses for the schools. So that's what they're planning right now.
Thank you. Legislative, things are ramping up a bit. This will be a policy year, not a funding year, so we'll have to watch closely for any policy language coming out of the state legislature that could either benefit us or harm us, so keep an eye on that. And I'll be talking, when I give my report at the end, I'll be talking about MSBA legislative stuff. Minnesota State High School League, we're in the midst of tournaments and all kinds of fun things, so kudos to our cross-country team that went, kids that went from Jordan, so we will be honoring them at probably the December meeting. So exciting times there. Scale?
I don't think we met.
I think
coming
it's
up,
this
right?
coming Friday morning. Yeah, it's this Friday morning.
Okay, Lauren's not here. SEAC, Connie, I don't think you've met, have you? Oh, you did? Yeah.
We have a really cool advice group, and Jack did an awesome job explaining the sub-shortages and what a sub-shortage means in special ed. It is, it's a really difficult time because many of the special ed kids don't handle change very well. And so Chad himself has subbed in, and he was assuring the families that their children are being well taken care of. He's setting up some open houses for us and for the advisory to tour SOAR, and he's very excited about, Chad always gets excited about SOAR, so that's exciting for him. There's some new state guidelines for special ed, and some of them are very difficult to interpret, so Chad's getting some support from the Department of Ed to help him with that. And that does involve the due process and the IEP, self-monitoring and all this stuff, so there'll be a lot of surveys going out to parents in the special ed program so that they can be reviewed. There's more tighter fiscal monitoring on special ed right now. I don't know how special ed could get more complicated with finance, but they are. MDE is doing random sample parent surveying, so if anybody in the district gets one of those, it's very, very important because they're random and there's only so many of them, and it really will speak about who we are as Jordan Special Ed. He's said that he's been receiving a lot of really positive comments about how the IEP meetings are coming, because he has now asked that always there be positive comments in an IEP, not just what needs to be improved or whatever. So he's trying to get one positive teacher for each child to attend so that the kids can hear things about themselves. Transitions, we had parents come to the advisory saying, our child will graduate and we hear about career readiness, but what does that mean for our children? And so they're going to look at getting some speakers to come in about guardianship, what happens when a child turns 18 to 21, and then getting jobs or helping them get job coaches, and what will that look like so that if you're the parent of a 7th grader, it doesn't look so scary for you. There's some vocation post-secondary support, and looking at maybe getting that earlier so parents feel more comfortable about what will happen. And then also my visual, the coffee shop is coming back. And the special ed students in each of the buildings are going to open it to all 3 buildings this year. Over winter, they'll do coffee shop. The special ed kids will take the order. They'll make the order. Specifically, a parent spoke to us of a child that is nonverbal. And that was the highlight of the child's school career, was They got to work the coffee shop, and they got to take the order. Everything could be nonverbal. There's a little checklist. The order could check what they wanted. They could make the coffee for them, give it to them. They would pay them. And the big highlight is they have punch cards, and the special ed kids get to punch the punch card. And I guess working that paper punch is like the coolest job that day. So that's going to be something that's coming back. So this, if you want to make a donation, they need K-cups. So they're going to do that. And that led right into the one parent saying, vocational training. We're doing it right in school. The kids are going to learn how to work a coffee shop, and then they can maybe get a job in the coffee shop. So our whole conversation just wrapped up with big smiles at the end. So I love being on that committee.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks, Connie. Any
Yep.
questions? Thank you. Southwest Metro, our last meeting, first of all, there's not gonna be a gala this year, due to COVID. They're holding off, not doing a gala. And we had a presentation on the JAF, the Juvenile Detention Center. That is, we are technically, those are our students, but Southwest Metro provides education for them. And they're finding that the students there are more long-term students than in the past, and part of that is probably COVID related somewhat. And they've changed a little bit their focus on education, of course, is top priority, but they're finding that they have to work really hard on social, emotional, and psychological needs for these students. So they're doing more of that with the students. So the online initiative is going well. That online school, they have overall from all our districts, they have 70 elementary students, 78 middle school, and 130 high school. They are still looking for social studies and science teachers. I'm not sure if they were able to secure any of them since my meeting. I have not heard. Lots of students that they're finding are going back to their home districts. They're finding that, yeah, we don't want to do online. We want to be in school, so that's a good thing. And one of the challenges that they are finding and working through, and I don't know if Jeff is still here or not, is the differing grad requirements between districts. So that is a bit of a challenge for them. So, but they're working through it. They're doing a good job with that. The Valley Green building, they will be signing the papers on that November 30th, and on December 1st, they are going to raise the CAP building. So the Scott County CAP will be moving, let's see, the thrift store is going into a strip mall store, and the food shelf will be in the Corn Association's building on Main Street of Shakopee. So CAP is going to be spread out a little bit. But other than that, I think that's all I have for that. Minnesota School Boards Association, we had a very, 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 very long meeting yesterday. Very interesting meeting. We do have our delegate assembly coming up. So next Wednesday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday night, and or Saturday for Lauren and Sandy and myself will be pre-delegate assembly. We have 24 resolutions that will be presented at delegate assembly, which will be held December 3rd and 4th in the cities. So we'll be voting on these. They were surprised at the number of resolutions that came forward. They whittled it down from 35 to 24. So some very interesting resolutions that will give more of a report on it. The December. They'll be mailed to you. I got this at the board meeting yesterday. Just a reminder that January 13th and 14th is Leadership Conference. Hopefully you've all let Hope know to make reservations for you for the conference. And great news, the Jordan Jazz Band was picked to perform. That is huge. I mean, out of all the districts in the state, for them to be able to perform at a conference like this is pretty amazing. And originally they were a little worried because of COVID and because of some of the unrest in the cities. They thought that the attendance or the sign up for the conference was going to be very low. So actually about 2 weeks ago they canceled a whole bunch of blocks of rooms, and within a day they found out that all the rooms that they did have were booked, so they had to quickly reopen the bookings. So it's looking like there's going to be a really good turnout for the conference. so that's exciting. So there'll be more coming on that. PDA, 24 resolutions. And then the only other thing I have is, and I know this doesn't work for you, Sandy, but the 22nd of January was the date that that 6 of the 7 board members were just struggling to find a date that worked for everybody. So we are planning on doing the board retreat on the 22nd. We tossed around the idea of doing a school day, but we didn't want to pull the whole admin team out of school, and we didn't want to ask you all to take more time off of work because you're already taking off 2 days in January. So hopefully, Sandy, you'll be able to shift and at least attend part of it. Or yep. Yep. I got it. I get it. So, with that, I'll go around. Ryan?
It was a great first quarter. My kids were thrilled. Everybody seems happy. So thank you to everybody in the district for making that happen. And thank you, Hope, for getting me through the last couple years, making sure that I'm at meetings and know what I need to do. You will be missed. Thank you.
Sandy?
I would echo that hope, and it's more than the last couple of years. It's been many, many years. So thank you for all you have done for this district, and you will very much be missed. Regarding other things, the fall play, Afraid of the Dark, is coming up next week. It's Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Friday and Saturday, I believe, are 7:30, and Sunday is at 2. And so I don't know when those tickets go on sale yet, but because I haven't heard yet, and I'm hoping that I hear soon. And it's going to be very funny. So it's a comedy. So other than that, I did actually just look, and I cannot attend the APAC meeting on Thursday the 18th because it got moved, and it keeps getting moved. And so the problem is that with my work schedule and my caseload doubling, I can't just move things around. So, and it's a national call that I have at 1. And so, and the APAC meeting is Thursday at 1, and I have a national call at that time that I have no control over. So, I don't know, Deb, I think you're the alternate.
Yeah. Do you want to, when you get the invite, do you want to forward it to me? Because I never get the invites.
Sure, absolutely.
So if you could, yeah, I will.
I don't know if I can add you or if I can forward it.
Okay, sounds good. What time is that at?
1 o'clock.
1 p.m., yeah. Okay. Thank you. Connie?
I got to go to the most awesome choir concert in the whole wide world, and it was really, really so entertaining. It was fun to see a student teacher just jump up there and be involved, and you could tell that the kids were excited to be back performing again, and it was just like going to the Chanhassen Dinner Theater for me. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and Hope, I will miss you also. Thank you for always keeping me on task and answering all my crazy questions of where am I supposed to be. I greatly appreciate the kindness and the quietness that you brought to our group. You will be missed, and good luck in your future endeavors. Appreciate you.
Sarah?
We'll echo all of that with what people said about Hope. You will be greatly missed. And also want to talk about, or just echo what Ryan said about the first quarter, and to talk about even what Renee said with staff and admin stepping in and helping out with the subbing situation, and everyone's really just helping out and jumping in. And I really appreciate that. I also appreciate, Ms. Peters coming in tonight and talking about, and how do we get trips for our kids? How do we get back in this? And I wasn't able to attend last month when Burnside and McKnight also came in to talk about what do we need to do, and how do we get these trips, knowing the current times that we're in and how COVID can have such an impact. And I just appreciate the flexibility and, us being able to offer this for our students. And then just wanted to, thank for EMJ and the district representatives who came together and worked really hard on the agreement. So.
Molly?
Yeah, like end of the line, Hope. Good luck to you. Thank you for everything you've done for us. And I was actually going to talk about Ms. Peters also, and with the Peru trip, and thank you for finding out all the details so us parents that have kids going can feel a little bit more comfortable, kind of knowing things are taken care of, and you know there's backup plans, and parents that can still go as chaperones, and you know. So thank you.
Great. I don't want to put you on the spot, Kaylin, but if you have anything you want to share about anything you heard tonight or anything?
So this week at the high school, there's a couple things coming up. So on Wednesday, there'll be a blood drive at the high school, and I believe almost all spots are full, so there's a lot of donors coming out for that. On Thursday, the rescheduled band concert will be at the middle school gym, starting at 7, but ensembles will start at 6:45. And then with the organization of Mrs. Peters, she organizes some juniors and seniors to go into the elementary school classrooms and meet the younger students. So these Spanish students are going to go into cities and speak Spanish with these students so that they can feel more comfortable sharing with Jordan. So I just wanted to thank her for organizing that.
Great. Cool. Thank you. Yes, thanks. Good. Thanks for putting a shout out too for the band concert on Thursday night. So it will be Veterans Day, so they will be honoring the veterans, and the veterans have been invited to participate in that ceremony. So we really appreciate that they're doing that for our veterans.
And it's in the middle school gym.
It's in the middle school, yes. Yep, it's in the middle school because there's lots of stuff going on in the high school.
Yes.
And I think with that, unless anybody else has anything,
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
we have a motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Sandy. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? We are adjourned. Have a good night, everybody.